delighted to say, joining me this morning as my friend, Charlie Rowley. Good morning.
Talking of WI meetings.
This is it, isn't it?
Here we are.
I was going to do a segue about puddings, actually.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
What's your favourite?
Well, out of that list that you named, I do like an apple crumble. I do like an apple crumble.
With cream or ice cream? Or both?
Both. Pushed, probably with ice cream if pushed. But I used to have a very sweet tooth. I still do. But I've moved away from sort of, chocolate gâteaux to things like apple crumble.
Well, so it's interesting. British puddings can be savoury or sweet, differing from our American cousins, which really tend to be very creamy, their desserts, I think. I do think ours are rather classier, generally. And as I said, of course, puddings, you've got to remember, we're not just talking about sticky toffee pudding. Yorkshire pudding.
Yes.
You see?
I do like
about that.
No, I do like a Yorkshire, yes.
I love a Yorkshire. Now, you see, in Suffolk, and I mentioned Suffolk earlier because of Elizabeth Garrett Anderson, but in Suffolk they serve Yorkshire puddings with anything. Like, literally any meat at all, not just beef.
Oh, well, I'm up for that. Well, I know where I'm heading later on. I'll be on the first
I have invited you, but you've turned it down jealously.
I haven't.
Every time, yeah. And, of course, and the other pudding I'm going to throw in here, black pudding.
Yes.
I do like black pudding.
Yes. I was a late...
It is a pudding.
Convert. Who said no?
It's called black pudding,
Who
Phil.
said no?
He's just giving me grief.
I was a late convert to black pudding.
Jaffa cakes are cakes. I'm not having that, sorry.
But breakfast, black pudding and breakfast, well, that's the only time you can eat black pudding, is it? Or can you have it in... is it some sort of Scottish thing as well with haggis? No, haggis.
Oh, I love haggis. No, black pudding is very different to haggis.
Yes.
No, I love a haggis.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Here I
am.
Now, apparently, savoury puddings like black pudding and kidney and steak pudding, although I'd call that a pie, they basically started this off, and then as sugar became cheaper, they moved to become sweeter puddings and the sticky toffee puddings and Eton mess and everything. So Eton mess, you know where that came from, apparently?
No.
So apparently they had this big meringue and strawberries and cream, and someone dropped it.
Oh, and said, what a mess.
Yes, and apparently that was the Eton mess. That's my understanding.
Was it in Eton? Did it happen in Eton?
I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, Charlie, let's find out. Did it happen in Eton? Is that fable true as well? I'd quite like to know whether there is any truth in that. Now, there's a lot in the papers this morning about politics, as you can imagine. So obviously we've had this amazing Trump win. I said it was too close to call. I did call it for Trump, and then obviously he romped home. I mean, literally romped home.
And it's a perfect... I've literally just hot off the plane from...
no, you are.
New York, yes. Yesterday, I got back yesterday, but I was out there from Monday to Friday, so saw the election.
What?
It was a holiday more than anything else, but a friend said he was going, and I said, oh, that sounds great, and he just sort of said, well, come along, because he wanted to see the election as well.
Yeah. What was it like?
I mean, it was brilliant, and it's all, as you can imagine, America being America, all sort of bells and whistles and singing and dancing and Broadway and all the rest of it, but you can just feel out there the tension, and you could feel that it is, people have felt so let down by the Biden administration, and people are becoming more empowered and empowering. They felt that, just like Whitehall in the UK, they felt that Washington wasn't working for them. They were far removed from any of the issues that they have in their day-to-day lives. Immigration is a problem. And for whatever we think about Donald Trump over here and think, my God, how can anybody maybe vote for something that he might have said which is a bit extreme or a bit... You've got to look beyond that in America, because they know that. It's typical American where you've got to shout the loudest about anything just to get heard and get the headlines. They factor all of that in. But when it comes to the crux and the nuts and bolts about the economy, are we going to feel better off than we were 4 years ago with inflation up under the Democrats? Is immigration the #1 issue in the US? Yes, it absolutely is. We are the free world. We need to defend our borders. We've been let down. They're a very proud country. They're a big, And so who's going to restore all of that? It was always going to be Donald Trump.
And, of course, what you can see is the bi-coastal nature of this, the Democrats on both coasts and, of course, the Republican heartlands. But someone said something really interesting to me, which was the Democrats used to be the party of workers and how it has flipped. And the workers are now backing Trump, particularly the Latinos, which I don't think anyone really expected. And then you've got the Democrats wheeling out all of these celebrities like Oprah Winfrey and all the rest of it. Well, it didn't work, did it?
No, it didn't. And you're absolutely right. The way in which I think that, particularly those on the left, because it is, I think, a way in which people, particularly on the left, tend to categorise things. They like a label. They like to box people in. So you're either having, you're either LGBTQIABC, HMRC, BRB, 1, 2, 3. You've got to fit into that because that's you and that's you. Rather than just saying, you are who you are or whatever. Yeah. You don't need to put a label on it. That's not necessarily who you are. It's part of you, but it doesn't define what you're giving to community or society or your job or whatever. But there's this fixation about that, and then so you have. Yes, you're absolutely right. People like Oprah Winfrey and other celebrities that are coming out to try and say, well, hold on, Kamala should be doing better with the black vote. Well, why?
Yeah. It's a great point.
And Kamala, she should have done better with the women vote because about abortion. Well, hold on, it's one particular issue, but women who do work, who feel that they've been clobbered by high food and gas prices and tax. Kamala was not going to reverse those things for everybody, and that's what the majority of people, regardless of race, religion, colour, creed, sex, gender, whatever, they saw the raw politics and the politicians for what they were offering, and they voted accordingly to who they thought was actually going to make them better off.
And also, I get the sense that here we are with multi-millionaires, very rich people, telling people who are holding down 3-4 jobs, trying to make ends meet, how to vote.
Yes.
I mean, that's pretty repellent.
Exactly, and it goes to that. That's why I think politics is fascinating in itself, but it is so volatile because for now, or now it seems, people, whether it's in the UK but certainly in America, have moved away from the traditional way of thinking. Donald Trump is a very traditional Republican in that sense of who you'd expect to be the nominee. But he's done it. He's defied the odds. He's made the huge comeback. And that's why I think people are now, whatever their background, are taking back control, as it were, and making their vote.
I've heard that before.
Well, once or twice, yes.
I want to move into the question I'm going to ask this morning, but let me just show you the front page of the Daily Telegraph, because obviously we're talking about politics in the United States, but obviously the politics here in the UK as well. Front page of the Daily Telegraph, Labour paves the way for a 4-day week. Now, I find this absolutely horrifying. And Nigel Farage was on stage yesterday in Wales, and he said, hang on a minute, you can't just have people who are saying they're working from home, their productivity is high. And this is also due to Angela Rayner, of course, who is the local government secretary. She basically, it's not quite as the headline says, but she has scrapped the opposition to the local government basically allowing a 4-day week for the same money, so they don't have to increase pay. Meanwhile, Sadiq Khan, he's now offering tube drivers, by the way, if you drive a tube, you get 70 grand. I might look into that. Ooh. But 70 grand. And now he's saying, well, you can do a 4-day week for 70 grand instead of having the uplift in pay. And then I started thinking, well, who is the scariest politician in this country? Is it Sadiq Khan? Is it Angela Rayner? Or, is it Donald Trump? All of these things. If I was to make you sort of come down on one particular politician, which politician scares you the most? Rachel Reeves?
Well, yes, if you're a pensioner, I mean, she's coming after you. I think probably because of that. But you need someone who's going to be able to stand up for ordinary people. It's not just the unions. And it seems story after story you're hearing that the Labour Party are in ad hoc to their union paymasters and putting the public at risk, if it's, as they through things like winter fuel, but they're just dumbing down public services. The clue's in the title, public services. Deliver for the public. I mean, 4-day week, whether it's a council, is not going to be delivering for the public.
I would agree totally. So let me ask you the same question this morning. Which politician, you can choose any politician you like, which politician scares you the most? For me, it's Reeves. Lammy's pretty much up there as Foreign Secretary. Rayner's pretty much up there as well. I mean, it's quite difficult to choose.
I mean, Corbyn is quite scary, but he's old news. He's not frontline anymore. But
I think Rachel Reeves is the scariest because I don't think she realises what she's done. 25 billion she's lumbered businesses with, and businesses will cut jobs. You've got people like Lord Rose coming out and saying this is an absolutely crazy budget.
I think so. And there has to be, I think, a real understanding of, say, the public service and public sector versus the private sector. Now, I say versus, not sort of playing them off against each other, but if you are a private company, private enterprise, frankly, you can do what you want. If you think you're going to get more productivity in terms of growth and GDP out of your workforce by having flexi time, job shares, whatever it is, that's fine when it comes to your private business. However, trying to extend that across to the public service and the public sector, say, teachers have a 4-day week. Well, that makes absolutely no sense at all.
Friday?
Exactly, or have some sort of... there is a huge difference between what is delivering services for the public versus people that are running private enterprise. And it's people that run private enterprise who are the bedrock and backbone of our UK economy, that keeps us all employed, that keeps the economy ticking over. And I'm afraid if they're hit the hardest, which they have been, to raise all this money, this fake money that Rachel seems to have come up with, this fake figure.
In a black hole.
In black hole, yes.
A black hole that's getting bigger.
Exactly, exactly.
That no one else can find.
That no one else can quantify. Exactly, not even the IFS.
She's got superpowers.
Yeah, she is scary. That's why she's
but this goes back, to Reeves, and then we're going to also... We saw an interest rate cut coming down to 4.75%. Many people around the country thinking, thank goodness, if you're on a tracker, then, your mortgage rate may well fall. Well, when you then stick 25 billion on there, this is the front page of the Eye this morning. UK mortgage rates set to stay higher in 2025, thanks to Reeves and Trump. I'm not so sure about that bit, but certainly thanks to Reeves.
Oh, definitely. And, budget decisions, every decision has a consequence, and this is one that she's... she's going to stick to it, because there's no sign of making any kind of U-turn or wiggle room, which I thought was a mistake. And I think if you talk to people in the Labour Party, I know I don't want to be over-partisan, but talk to Labour Party people, officials, ex-officials, MPs, they are nervous that their postbag is now going to be absolutely full of people, not just the pensioners that are having their winter fuel cut, but businesses that are having to stump the bill, that can't employ another person. And when you see in those Labour heartlands, those places that should have been levelled up under the Tories, didn't quite get round to it. Because
you messed that up.
Well, there's internal party politics, which I think people probably choose not to remember, or wouldn't care to be reminded by me on a Saturday morning. But, we lost those constituencies because people saw that their high street, their hairdresser, their barbers, their local supermarket, their pubs, restaurants, all closing down. And once you have a high street that's totally closed, that's literally shut up shop because of high taxes, which Labour has obviously imposed on them, I think we're going to see real problems right across the country.
So, pushing you, who do you think, which politician scares you the most?
Ed Miliband is actually quite scary as well, thinking about it. Red Ed, and now with all the energy... I mean, I am, call me, a modern progressive, individual. I am for net zero. I am pro-environment. But there is a way in which you go about it.
And a time frame.
And a time frame, and it doesn't hit working people in the pockets, and he is the total opposite to that.
Just very quickly, before we go to the break, please get in touch about that. Which politician scares you the most? The number 0344 499 1000. You can also text us. Text the word talk in your message to 87222. And you can also X us at talkTV. Now, on the subject of puddings, this one says, I like spotted dick. I find it very hard to get. Andrew says, my favourite pudding, my wife makes it, is baked apples, stuffed raisins and syrup served with custard. Yes. Fab to see you at the weekends again. That's Andy in Southsea. Thank you very much for that. And, this is a good one. Julie. Good morning, Julie.
Hi, Julie.
We've obviously awoken the sweet tooth across the nation. Julie says, my favourite pudding is banoffee pie.
Oh, interesting.
Lovely.
Oh, do you think so?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I'm about to contradict myself there and say you shouldn't have a...
One more. Steph says, good morning, David. Yorkshire puddings are lovely cold with jam.
Oh.
OK, well, on that note, let's...
Just have a donut. Just get a donut.
Very good, very good. OK, we'll have a donut. We'll take a break. We'll continue with the front pages this morning, and also David Swang will be joining us to tell us all the latest tech news. Don't go anywhere. This is Weekend Breakfast. Good morning. Just looking through the front pages this morning, if you are just waking up, the Daily Telegraph. Labour paves the way for a 4-day working week. Yes, if it can't get any worse. The Eye this morning says UK mortgage rates set to stay higher in 2025 thanks to Reeves and Trump. Of course, £25 billion that she's fleecing off private companies, and the increase in the employer national insurance. And of course, what's going to happen? Fewer people will be employed, and therefore the average person is going to be feeling that very much. The front page of The Sun this morning This is an amazing story. Iran plot to kill Trump. An Iranian agent has been charged with plotting to kill Donald Trump. They say this ex-con, Farhad Shakiri, who is hiding in Tehran, according to the paper and according to the US prosecutors, devised a 7-day plan to spy on Donald Trump and to murder him. 2 US men have faced a New York court on connected charges as well. According to the paper, Afghan national Shakiri claims on October the 7th, the anniversary of the terror attack in Israel by Iran-backed Hamas, was essentially this plot to kill Trump was retribution for that on the anniversary. Let's move on to the Times. They have the same story this morning, Iran plot to kill Trump, and they also go on to talk about something else. Elon Musk joined Trump on phone calls to President Zelensky of Ukraine. Of course, the election of Trump will make a sizable difference to foreign policy for the United States, and the question is, how much support will Ukraine continue to have from the United States? We'll move now to The Guardian, because on that note, Ukraine fears relations with the UK have worsened. Ukraine's relationship with the UK has got worse since Labour took power in July. This is according to officials in Kyiv. I hadn't realised this, but the Prime Minister, of course, has yet to visit Ukraine. He's been in power for 4 months after taking office, and Kyiv is very frustrated by the lack of ambition coming from the United Kingdom. Ukraine growing increasingly unhappy with London as Russian troops advance in the east of the country at the fastest rate since 2022. Then we'll move on to the Daily Express. This is an awful story. Armistice Day, of course, tomorrow we celebrate or remember those who have fallen and paid the ultimate sacrifice. Armistice Day plot to swarm UK cities exposed. This is pro-Palestine activists are plotting to swarm Armistice Day services and bring chaos to UK cities. They've been exposed by the Daily Express. This is Youth Demand. Now, they are plotting a series of coordinated attacks on the day when we honour those people, as I say, who have paid the ultimate sacrifice. The Express has passed that information on to the police, who say they will be robust and take action against these people. And many politicians coming out slamming this. Former Conservative Home Office Minister Kevin Foster slammed the plan as utterly shameful and said activists were abusing freedoms won by men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice. Scotland Yard has promised robust action and said any plot like this is unacceptable. They go further to say any attempt to disrupt the solemnity and importance of Armistice Day is entirely unacceptable. I just think that's absolutely abhorrent, actually. Daily Mail, Britain's first fat jab death. This is Tirzepatide. This is Mounjaro. This is a really sad story. An NHS nurse has become the first person in Britain whose death is directly linked to a weight loss jab. It's called the King Kong of slimming jabs, and she bought it, as far as I can see, online. And this then begs sort of big questions about regulation of these drugs and how you can get hold of them. She was found to have multiple organ failure, septic shock, pancreatitis as well, was taken into A&E in the same unit where she worked. Yeah, that's very alarming. And I don't know where people get hold of all of these things. People see it on Instagram. You can get anything, actually, on Instagram now, which advertises itself. Well, I didn't realise this, but apparently you can then, basically try and get the jab. Your request is seen cursorily by a doctor. I think you send photos of yourself in, but there's no consultation at all before they then prescribe these jabs. And we're very much at the infancy of this, and of course this is the tip of the iceberg, I think. Yeah, I think that's right. And we're moving, we're a pill-popping nation as it is, for quick fixes, not for long-term sort of, changes, which you actually need to do. A jab for weight, I mean, fine if it's needed for people that are really sort of severely sort of obese because of other health problems or whatever, but it's not the answer. It will never replace maybe a good diet and some just good old-fashioned healthy exercise. Well said, well said. Daily Mirror this morning, I did not abandon Liam. This is a pal called Rogelio Norres, said he left the start chatting and joking. I never abandoned Liam. He said he is not one of the 3 men arrested. So there have been 3 arrests in this for supply of drugs and also for abandoning a person following death. Really, still a shocking story, and trying to get to the bottom of who actually supplied those drugs. And of course, we know what the outcome was. And the Daily Star, Tango Terrors. Giant orange man baby Donald Trump has sparked a global hissy fit as politicians rush to praise the daft, I can't say that word, and women are urged to introduce a nookie ban in protest at his victory. We'll talk more about that. The media going into absolute, well, the left-wing media going into absolute meltdown over the Trump win. I mean, so many channels where reporters just completely lost the plot, didn't know how to respond to a Trump victory. We'll talk more about that later. So you're up to date. Those are the front pages this morning. But